They convicted an innocent man. I was always taught to fight for the people who need the help the most. You don't know what it is down here. They ain't got to have no evidence.
How many of you all were with Walter that morning?
You ain't quitting, is you? No, sir. We all with you.
First of all, Bryan Stevenson, kudos to you. I mean, just
Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Very honored here to meet you. Just Mercy, we are here.
Yeah.
You're like a real life superhero. And you have Killmonger portraying you. So
That's right.
talk to me, how does it feel to have
You know,
this film is here?
it's really exciting. I've been kind of laboring for a long time in places where I just believe if people could see what I see, they'd want the same things I want. There's so much abuse and mistreatment and injustice and inequality that we haven't really addressed. That the idea now that we'll get to share this story with millions of people, for me, is very, very exciting. You know, we have a criminal justice system that treats you better if you're rich and guilty than if you're poor and innocent.
Yes.
Black and brown people in this country are still presumed dangerous and guilty. Doesn't matter how talented or educated they are. And that's not right. That's not fair. And so to change that, we're going to have to use all of the tools that we can. And narrative, filmmaking, storytelling is a critically important tool in creating a new consciousness about how we get closer to the kind of justice that we deserve.
People are like, oh, you get to play Jamie Foxx's wife? Do you kiss him? That was the first question, right?
Really?
Yes. From people you would not expect to get this question from. And then the second question was, when the trailer came out, it was, you got to, well, not question, but statement, you got to hug Michael B. Jordan. That was
Oh my God.
right? But after people actually see the film, it turns into, what can I do? What can I do to help? And I think that's the power of storytelling, of this story and of Bryan's life and his work. It changes the narrative. And I believe it's gonna foster conversations that change the very fabric of who we are as a country. And I'm really grateful for that.
He's a hero in a time when heroes don't seem even to exist. We have to go to the multiplex and see them in capes with special powers. But this is actually a real one who's devoted his life to solving what seemed, until he came along, to be an utterly intractable problem in our country. And we get to help tell that story. It feels fantastic.
It does. It's an amazing experience to be a part of something that could create such a positive change in our society, bring attention to something that definitely needs some correcting. And for me as a black man to be a part of this story and make it do something or benefit for other brothers and sisters that get this kind of ill treatment, I'm all for it, man.
Now, with you guys playing real life characters, Eva and Minnie, the wife, were you guys able to meet the real life characters to help kind of bring authenticity to the real life character?
Yeah, Eva was kind enough to give me access to her and pick her brain as much as I needed, and we spoke on the phone quite a bit. And then she would come to set. She came to set a couple of times, yeah. So she was definitely my collaborator in this.
Beautiful. Now with Minnie, I know Walter has passed away. Is Minnie still alive?
Minnie is still alive.
Okay.
And I have yet to meet her. My initial thought was I want to meet her, but in reading her story and understanding this experience for her, I thought, that for her in particular, that might be more for me than for her. So I began to think, how can I serve her in this piece? And I felt for me to serve her in this and to serve the piece, it was about sharing her in a way where she was seen and not kind of thrown to the side, sharing her in a way where she was a whole person and not just this one representation of what womanhood or rural black southern womanhood looks like.
Exactly.
So that was my approach to her, to make her as seen and heard and understood and loved and protected as possible.
We need that protection, child. And with you, Tell, you were like the character that I love to hate. Even though it's a real life character, were you able to meet your real life character?
No,
I know he's still alive, and
He is still alive, and he's now working with the Equal Justice Initiative.
Wow.
So he's now working with Bryan Stevenson, which is extraordinary. Wow. And no, I wasn't able to meet him because at the time the relationship, I guess, between him and the film was a somewhat precarious one, and they didn't want to open that can. But I had a lot of video material on him, and that served as a very effective guide. And I spent a lot of time with that and just tried to let the character in.
When you see these performances, what Jamie does, what Rob Morgan does, what Karan Kendrick does, what Tim does, what Michael does, it's so powerful that you can see the humanity and the dignity of the people that I've represented. And when you see that humanity being crushed unfairly, treated unfairly, it ought to make you angry. It ought to motivate you to do some things. And that's what I'm hoping. Because if we can get people to leave the theaters ready to get active on these issues, I think we can have a huge impact on the future of how this plays out. I don't want there to be another generation of Walter McMillans and Anthony Ray Hintons condemned to die unfairly on our death rows.
Lastly, Walter McMillan's family.
Yeah.
How do they feel about the film?
You know, we did a screening for the family. We actually did 3 screenings, and they were really, really encouraged. Really, I think, you live through something like that, and what people don't realize is when you put an innocent person on death row, it's not just them that you're punishing. It's their family, it's their community. Yeah. There are 132 million people in this country with family members in jails and prisons, 60 million African Americans and Native people, and it's a burden on everybody. And so to finally see their story told was for them really affirming. I just talked to many last week, and I just think they're energized that the grief and the hardship that they went through is now going to be acknowledged in this big and beautiful way.